Hi, I'm Ken Lister, and I'm here at Oceanside Yoga in Qualicum Beach. And today I'm going to lead you through somewhat energetic, but not hopefully too over-the-top practice. Some elements of vinyasa, flow, and just some more gentle things to warm up, especially. And I've got a kind of minimal prop selection here today because, especially respecting what you may or may not have at home, I have a strap, which you don't need a strap. You could use a belt or a tie or something like that. I have a blanket, which I'm sure most people can scrounge up, a blanket of some kind, just in case you want it under your knees or maybe near the end to cover yourself with. And I'm sitting on a bolster, but you could use a pillow or really anything to elevate your pelvis for the first part, which we'll start with actually just a simple sit and breathe meditation. So take a few moments to arrange yourself comfortably. And like I say, you could sit as high as you want to. In fact, it might be good for some people to even sit up in a chair. Or just stack as many pillows as you need to do. Blanket, maybe I'll do that too. I'll take the blanket and put it right on there. So it's a little bit higher, and you can sit in a cross-legged position or wherever. In a chair, you could just have your feet on the floor. Just make sure you're comfortable, and once you're comfortably arranged, close your eyes. Take a deep breath or two or three, inhaling through the nose, and exhaling like a sigh through the mouth. And then after a few breaths like that, you can make sure your hands are comfortably resting. You can just let your breath go into automatic mode. So it might become quieter and very subtle, perhaps. You start to watch from the inside, scan around from the inside of your body to notice where you can soften easily right away. So common places like the jaw, and all around the mouth, the tongue, lips. You can soften your forehead, your scalp muscles, let your shoulders relax away from your ears. And wherever your hands are, let them be very soft and relaxed as well. And after a few moments of scanning around the body, you might notice a place or two that are holding tension. If you do notice such a place, you can bring your attention there. Simply observe what happens when you watch. It might release a little, or it might decide not to. That's fine either way. Just letting the breath breathe itself, quieting the body, allowing the mind to settle a bit too. And you might start to notice the feeling of where you're pressing down. So I'm sitting on a bolster, you can feel the places that you're pressing down, and actively lean into wherever you're touching down. Press down through your sitting bones if you're sitting up. And as you press down into the floor, you can feel like you're reaching up or releasing up through the crown of the head. Maybe you can even imagine that your head is light or buoyant, as if it were like a helium balloon. Like it wants to go up by itself. Feel your spine lengthening. Take a few more moments to scan through your whole body. One of the wonderful aspects of yoga that's a little different than a lot of other physical practices is that we build awareness into all of the movements, all of the poses. So take a few moments to really make that promise to yourself to check in with the physical sensations. We're actually using the body like an anchor, a sensory anchor to pull ourselves back into the present moment. Through whatever sensations you're experiencing right here, right now. Let's take a few moments to feel your body, feel your breath. Noticing whatever you notice. One thing you might notice is that the mind is making it difficult to be quiet and still. The mind likes to be busy, so you can watch that too. Watch as if you could take one more step back, even deeper. And watch even the process of the mind as it jumps around. Have the image of like you're sitting beside a passing train. And every car on the train is another opportunity to be distracted. Maybe the train cars are full of circus animals or that kind of thing. In this case, it would be interesting thoughts or distracting thoughts. We're not getting on the train. We're going to deliberately stay to the side and watch as the train passes. And you might start to notice that between the cars of the train, between the individual thoughts that come up, that there's a gap. And between the train cars, you start to notice something that's not moving. In the distance, maybe you would see a mountain or a lake. Similarly, between your thoughts, beneath your thoughts, there's stillness, a deeper awareness that isn't moving. Let's take a few moments to absorb or explore this idea. And then we'll start to gradually deepen the breath just a little bit. And over the period of a few breaths, you can start to find a full, easeful breath. Possible breathing in and out through the nose. Keeping your belly soft. And when you're ready, you can blink your eyes open. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, and if it's okay with your neck, you can look up. And then with the exhale, take your arms wide. You can pull your fingernails back like you're trying to say no, stop sign kind of gesture with the hands. And then with your next exhale, twist to the right. So you can twist, keeping your arms in that position to the right, just using the muscles of your torso. And then turn your head until it feels like it's meeting resistance. And then look lastly into the right corner of your eyes. Take a big breath in there. Lots of energy, but maybe not a lot of movement to start with. And let out a big sigh. As you inhale again, You can roll your wrists, and then once again in the middle with your full breath, exhaling with that stop sign, hand thing again. Turn till your torso won't go anymore. Turn your head till it meets just the beginnings of the resistance. And you can finish the twist by looking into the left corner of your eyes. Take a big breath here. You can let out a sigh. And then inhale back, rolling your wrist as you do. And release your arms for a moment. You can roll your shoulders, and then we'll do some seated sun salutations. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale, leaning to the side. You can arc your arm past and look past your elbow. So you might turn your head a little bit again. Just stop when you meet resistance. And then we'll inhale back, up, and exhale, lean to the other side. And you can turn your head, look past your elbow. So rather than looking at the hand, which will collapse the neck, look past your elbow. And then we'll inhale back up. This time we'll exhale and fold forward. And as you fold forward, you can walk your hands forward, so the spider crawl your hands forward, bow your head. And then with your inhale, keep your hands where they are, but lift your gaze to look forward or maybe up a little bit. And then as you release, you can come back, exhaling, taking your hands behind you. And then as you inhale this time, squeeze your shoulder blades together, pull your shoulders back, lift your chest, look up. Big inhale, and then exhale and release back to the starting position. So let's do that all again. Just flowing with breath. Inhaling and exhaling, side bend. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale to look up halfway or just forward. And then exhale, you can walk your hands back, lean back. And as you inhale this time, looking up, squeezing your shoulder blades together. And exhale, release. And we'll just roll the shoulders again. And then let's come off of the lift. You can swing your legs around now. And just stretch your legs out in front. You can pedal the feet a little bit, warming up the ankles. And then we'll just come lying down. You can, if you want to add a little bit of core right away here, you can dig your heels in, about hips width, and see if you can tuck your chin and round down without lifting your heels or going quickly at any point. So usually at a certain point you kind of lose it, but try not to lose it. See if you can come down slowly, 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 as you can. And once you're down all the way, let's just come into a big full body stretch. You can reach your arms up and start to wriggle and make noises. If you want, you can grunt, especially if you're by yourself. You can self-consciously grunt and yawn. And then we'll take a little side bend. So you can walk your heels over to the right side. So I'm leaving my pelvis in the middle. I'm going to just walk my heels over as far as they go. And in this case, I'm going to the right, so my left outer hip is the limiting factor here. So it's only going to go so far. And then I'm going to wiggle, use my elbows and the head to wiggle. So I'm leaning into a C curve to the right. And then you can reach up and grab your left wrist with your right hand, cross your left ankle over the right if it isn't already tight enough. And I'm really feeling the whole stretch now on the left side of the body. So you can imagine that your breath goes right into those places of sensation. Breathe into your waist, your side ribs, the spaces between the ribs. And imagine that your in-breath is bringing in fresh, clean energy, prana, charging up your whole body, whatever part you're breathing into. And then you can exhale like you're sighing on behalf of your ribs or your side of your waist or your IT band. Let's take a couple of breaths like that. Sort of washing, energy washing breaths. Breathing into the sensation and sighing on behalf of whatever part of your body that you are breathing into. And then when you're ready to change sides, just simply come back to center. So pelvis doesn't move, but the legs now go to the left till they kind of naturally stop. And I'm going to use my elbows and the back of my head to lean to the left. And then you can reach up and grab the right wrist with the left hand, so kind of gently encouraging it to arc overhead, and then crossing the right ankle over the left. And again, as soon as I do that, I feel lots of stuff right in the outer hip. So I'm going to breathe right into my hip. And of course the air doesn't go there, but the prana moves with your attention. So you breathe, the prana, use your imagination to breathe into feeding those areas, and then exhale, sighing on behalf of the whole right side of the body, wherever you're feeling the sensation. Just take a couple of breaths like that. And then coming back to center, walking everything back into center, and we'll slide the feet back, taking your feet to the floor. And then just rocking the pelvis a few times, back and forth. It's kind of like cat and cow, but we're flipped over, so I can feel myself pressing my low back and then arching my low back. And do that a few times. You can be pretty strong if you like already pressing. So you can even use your fingertips to feel the abdominal muscles engaging as you press your back and lift the tail. And then going the other way, it's like I'm arching my back away from the floor. And after a few times, see if you can intuit where the middle is, so that I can actually have room to slide my hand under my low back. I'm keeping it there. I'm not going to let my pelvis tip anymore or untip. I'm going to use all my core muscles to lock like a clamp, to hold my spine and my pelvis in place. Then I'm going to just lift my right foot off the floor and flex the foot. And I can't lift it any higher than this, because if I do, see, I'm going to round my back. So I'm going to try to keep that little space there and lift my leg just as high as it'll go. And I'm going to dorsiflex my foot, which means I'm pulling the toes down towards the shin. And then you can take a breath all the way up the leg into the sole of the foot, into the toes. And then sigh like you're draining out all the gunk from your leg and your foot. And then we'll just replace the foot down. And again, without losing that space, I'm not letting anything move. I'm going to lift and straighten the left leg. Reaching out through the heel, pulling the toes back and down. And I can feel all the tightness wherever it is in the back chain on the left side, all the way up from the glute really, through the hamstrings and even into the sole of the foot. And imagine that you could breathe into the foot and exhale, sighing on behalf of your plantar fascia and your heel and Achilles tendon and all of that stuff. And then we'll just release, and then heel to toe a little bit wider, and we'll do some windshield wipers. And as I windshield wiper my knees from side to side, I'm doing a gentle shoulder check in the opposite direction. And then we can take the feet back together, and I'm going to take my arms nice and wide, straight out to the sides, and I can use my arms kind of as a base to stop myself from tipping over as I lift the feet up, and I'm going to start to go a little bit from side to side. And you can keep your gaze straight up, or you can do that shoulder check in the opposite direction if that's okay with your neck. I'm trying to keep both shoulder blades down, and I'm gradually going a little more each time to the side. So I'm using a lot of core here now to keep myself stable. And I'm trying not to go so far that I go flying off to the side. So I'm going to try to keep both shoulder blades down. And you don't have to go all the way. Just go until you feel like, okay, you're not straining. Just warming up the core with a little bit of twisting. And then we'll release and hug the knees into the chest. You can rock a little bit from side to side. And then start to make a circle with your knees. You can go the other way after a few circles. You can reverse the direction. And then we'll do the bellows breath. So you're separating your knees a little bit, holding your knees with your hands. You take a big breath with the arms straight. Big belly breath. And then exhale, you can squish the air up, pulling your knees in. And inhale to fill up. And do that again a few more times. Then we'll keep the right knee in and stretch out the left leg. So I'm switching both hands to the right knee, and I'm going to squish the knee in tight and start to breathe again with that idea of breathing into the sensation. So wherever you feel it, you're just going to pull the right amount. So how hard to pull isn't about getting your knee to anywhere particularly. You're just going to pull until the sensation level, like you're turning up the volume of the squeezing, until the sensation level is ideal for you in this moment. And breathe into the sensation, wherever you feel it, and sigh on behalf, or the quality of sighing, like you're releasing all the gunk on the exhale. And then we'll straighten the right leg up towards the foot's aiming for the ceiling, and I'm going to interlace behind the thigh. And I'm pulling with my hands on the thigh bone, pressing the thigh bone into the hands, and I'm doing that dorsiflexing thing again, where I'm pulling the toes down, pushing the heel up. I'm trying to straighten the leg through the back of the knee, and your breath goes all the way up into your foot. And at this point, you might start to notice that concentrating on movements and poses will cause your face to tighten, or your jaw. Just check in with your various places that you hide tension, maybe your face or your forehead or your jaw biting together, or your lips, your tongue, who knows. And then we'll inhale deeply, and as you exhale, this time you can sit up, bring your nose closer to your knee. I'm going to bring my hands closer to my heel, and then float the left heel off the floor, and point the eyes at your right kneecap, and see if you can widen your gaze to see the whole room. Soft eyes, steady breath. And then gently release the left heel to the floor. And for the last couple of breaths, press strongly down, like you're trying to open your scissors a little bit more. And as you do, suck the heel back. So it's like you're trying to push the heel down, the left heel, and draw the leg back into the hip socket. So you can feel your glute working, you can feel your hamstrings, calf muscles working. Take a big breath into all of that. And then as you release, you can bend your knees and lie back. You just hug your knees, rock a little bit, and switch sides. So when you're ready, you can stretch out your right leg, start to pull on the left knee, just the right amount. Turn up the volume to the perfect amount of squeezing for you, and breathe into and sigh out from the places of tension or sensation. And the refinement of any of these movements and poses is to build in the calmness that we started with, the relaxed, calm breath, steady breath. And then we'll straighten the leg straight up towards the ceiling, interlacing now behind the thigh. And I often, when I do these ones where there's a different finger interlace, you can notice which way you kind of habitually interlace your fingers, and try switching it so that it looks the same but it feels kind of weird. So you can build that in if you want to add that. And now I'm pulling on my thigh, pressing my thigh into my hands, trying to straighten through the heel, pulling the toes down. And I can imagine breathing all the way up my leg into the foot. And then sighing out from your foot, from your whole leg. And then to come up, take a big breath in to prepare. And then as you exhale, you sit up, hands can slide up the leg, the eyes fix on the knee, but the gaze is actually broad. It's all the way wide, so I'm seeing the walls, the ceiling, the floor. Wide, fuzzy gaze, unfocused but steady. The breath is steady too. I'm floating my right heel, so I can feel the front chain working here to hold the leg up to start with. Then after a few breaths, go ahead and let your right heel come down, and then press in to the floor, and like you're sucking the leg back into the hip, pulling all the way from your glute, your hamstrings, and take another big breath like that. And then to release, you bend your knees and lie back. And you can just start making circles with your knees to start warming up the hips. And then after a few circles, you can reverse the direction. And then we'll take the feet to the floor, and you can find your strap. So if you have a strap, that's great. If you don't have a strap, like I said, you can use a tie or a belt or really anything. You can take this long, I guess a piece of rope, but that wouldn't be so great. You know, something nice and flat. And then you can stretch up through the, I'm taking the strap to start with right near the toes, and I'm going to bend my knee quite a bit. So it's actually, my right leg is kind of in a squat. So And I'm doing this so that my hamstrings are offline. I'm going to pull on the strap and try and dorsiflex my foot a little bit again. So I'm really wanting to feel the sensation in the bottom part of the leg, close to the heel and the calf muscle. And I'm just going to take a few breaths like that to stretch the lower part of the leg before we straighten the leg. And then when I'm ready to straighten the leg, I'm going to wiggle the strap or the belt to the middle of the foot. And I'm going to straighten the leg, but notice I'm not trying to go for the ceiling. I'm going to go like for halfway to the floor. I'm going to stretch out my left leg, and now I'm holding the strap, and then going to cow and cat against the floor a couple of times to find that little neutral place between the two. And then I'm going to once again clamp my pelvis so that my pelvis doesn't move, my low back does not come closer to the floor, and I'm going to start to draw the leg closer to vertical until the hamstrings and the pullback chain really starts to go, okay, that's right there is enough. And at the same time I'm doing that, I'm engaging that same thing of drawing the leg we talked about before, sucking the leg back into the hip. So I feel the glute working, I feel the hamstrings working, I feel really the whole back chain working. You can imagine you're actually trying to make a dent under your right hip. Try to lean your whole, like you're drawing the leg down to the floor to make a dent under your right hip. And then I'm going to take the strap, while I'm continuing to do that, take the strap in the left hand, just both ends of the strap, and I'm going to start to draw the leg across without lifting the hip. I'm not going to go very far now. It's like all of this is tight. So I'm just going to stay here and breathe into that sensation. And breathe out from that sensation. We'll take the spinal twist through the exhale. So when you're ready to do that, you can extend your right arm if you like. Take a big breath in. And then this time as you exhale, let the hip lift and you can let the leg drift further over to the left side. So you can feel like maybe your elbow comes down, and it doesn't have to go very far. If I keep my right shoulder down, maybe I only go a little ways, and then maybe a little bit of pulling also on the strap to get the movement of the stretch to come into the back outer hip. And you can look over your right shoulder and just take a few breaths. And as you do, you can keep focusing on the sensation, keep letting go of thoughts really, and feeling back into your body. Breathing into and sighing from the sensation. And then you can inhale back to center, passing the strap, both ends of the strap into the right hand. And as the leg goes out to the right now, I'm going to let my elbow come down, let out enough slack that your elbow can come down so that you can actually lean into your right elbow and turn away from the right leg. So the right leg is going to the right, but everything else is going to the left. I'm trying to roll over, so I'm really keeping my left hip down. And when I do the other side, you'll be able to see that the hip is not lifting. But I am pressing into the elbow, and now maybe a little bit of pulling on the strap to gently guide the right leg closer to the right shoulder or the armpit. Just take a breath into your inner thigh. You can ever so slightly externally rotate so that you feel like you're turning your toes out using your hip bone, using your right hip bone to turn the feet out. And then when you're ready to change sides, you can bring it back up and step. The left foot in, the right foot out. I'm going to wiggle the strap close to the toes. I'm going to squat the leg, so bending, taking the hamstrings offline, pulling a little bit, and now I'm going to breathe into my left calf muscle, the left Achilles tendon, a couple of breaths, sighing on behalf of those areas. And then taking the strap to the middle of the foot, dropping the heel so that I've got some slack in my spine to find my neutral. I can find that little place for my hand to slide under the low back. And I'm going to keep that there. So you can stretch out your right leg now and press into the heel to help you open your scissors without letting the back come down to the floor. So my leg only gets to a certain place, and then I'm going to really activate that denting feeling, like I'm making a dent in the mat underneath my left hip. Breathing up into the foot, or the hamstrings on the way, all of that. Sighing on behalf of all of that stuff. And keep denting that, making a dent under your left hip as you pass both ends of the strap into the right hand now. The left arm can extend. And then you can start to guide the leg over to the right, and it won't go very far if you really truly keep your left hip down.
You can even feel like you're really keeping that hip down, and you feel that all the sensation on the outside of the left leg. And pulling a little bit, you could let out enough slack to feel like your elbow comes down even here if you want to, but I'm not letting the hip lift until I do this big sighing breath. So we can inhale deeply to prepare for that, and then exhaling, I'm going to let the left hip lift and let the leg go over, but I'm keeping the left shoulder down, pulling a little bit on the strap, breathing into the outer left hip. And then we can come back to center, and you change hands, and as the leg goes out to the left, I'm going to let my elbow come down so I can press into my elbow and turn away from the leg that's going to the left. And you can see that my right hip is firmly down here. I'm not rolling over, I'm trying to go back away from the leg. And I'm going to externally rotate right from the thigh bone. Breathe into all of that. And then release back up. And we'll set the strap off to the side, and you can come back to just hugging your knees in for a moment. Maybe rocking, maybe making knee circles, just loosening up the hips for a moment. And then you can take your hands under your knees, and you can just roll to your side and come up to standing, or if you want to practice rocking along the spine, if that's not too bad for your tailbone, you can do this a few times. Rock from your shoulders to your hips, and maybe get up enough momentum to come all the way to standing, or just come to seated and then find your way to standing when you're ready. So standing at the top of your mat, you can have your feet hips width, press down through the soles of your feet. You can take a moment to move your head around to see if you can find the perfect balancing place for your head. Taking a few breaths here in Tadasana with the arms just relaxed. Shoulders relaxed. Start to feel like you're pressing the bones of your feet down into the floor, but pulling the skin, the muscles up. It's like you're lifting your arches, your kneecaps lift up into your thighs, your belly draws in and up. You can feel like you're even lifting a little bit your pelvic floor muscles to meet the in-breath. And with your next inhale, you can sweep the arms up and lift your gaze. Then exhale, fold forward. Try and bring your neutral spine with you as far as forward as you can, but round your back the rest of the way. And let's inhale, look up halfway, hands to the knees or the shins. Exhale, fold forward again, and we'll inhale, come back up. And exhale, you can release. Let's do that again. Inhale. Exhale, folding. Inhale, halfway lift. Let's exhale this time, plant the hands and step the right leg back. You can take the right knee down, flip the toes, and inhale, bring the arms up. You gaze, looking at your thumbs if that's appropriate. Exhale, plant your hands, curl your toes under, and step into downward facing dog. For this first downward dog, you can take a few moments to bicycle out the legs, to wriggle around a little bit, move your head around a little bit, and then settle in for a few breaths. The arms are straight. You're pressing your hands forward and down. You can bring your ears more or less in line with your arms. I like to imagine that I'm trying to touch the space between the hands with the top of the head. And I can decide to bend my knees quite a bit if I want to try and lift the sitting bones and find that lumbar curve, that inward curve. So try not to round the spine too much, but see if you can try and lift your sitting bones. And even with the knees bent, you have the feeling that you're pressing your heels down and lifting the sitting bones up. You're rooting down toward the floor through the heels. And then with your next inhale, let's roll forward to plank. And exhale, lower the knees, chest, and chin towards the floor. You're lifting your butt away from the floor, hugging the elbows in. Take a breath. And then exhale, you can release your pelvis down. The hands can be under the shoulders, and you can, or anywhere really, but start with the hands under the shoulders. You can root down through your pelvis, lift your kneecaps,
pull back with your hands, and as you inhale, peel yourself away from the floor. And you can move with the breath, exhaling to come down and inhaling to come back up. The front hip bones are rooting down, and you can play around with different hand positions, moving with the breath. And I'm trying to keep the baby toe side of the foot grounding down, but I'm using the thigh bones to do it. So it's like you're lifting your inner thighs up. Like you're trying to keep your glutes from going towards each other. And just do one more time. And then you can bring your hands by your low ribs, soften for a moment, and send your hips back towards your heels, stretch it up. And we'll curl the toes under and come back up into downward facing dog. Let's inhale, lift the right leg up. And exhale, step it forward into a lunge. And then flick off your back toes to step all the way forward to inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, folding. And inhale, coming all the way up. Exhale, let's release. And beginning at inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step your left leg back, take the knee down gently, flip the toes, and we'll inhale the arms up, maybe the gaze follows the thumbs. Exhale, the hands come down. You can curl your back toes under and step right into downward facing dog. Follow your inhale to plank. Exhale, knees, chest, and chin. If possible, the points all come down at the same time. And then inhale one breath, looping your shoulders in cobra. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Left leg on the inhale. Exhale, step forward with your left foot and flick off your back toes to step all the way forward, looking up halfway on the inhale. Exhale, deep fold. Inhale, coming all the way up again. And let's go right back down with the exhale, like you're riding the breath. Halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back to plank. And notice which foot you led with that time. So if you have an instinctive propensity to go the same leg every time, we can try and mix it up next time. Notice that my hands are under the shoulders, the legs are straight. I'm not lifting the pelvis nor sagging the pelvis. We're trying to keep it more or less straight. And that can be hard to figure out, but that's the intention. We'll inhale here together. And then exhale, you can either lower knees, chest, and chin like we did before, take your knees down, or press off your toes, bend your elbows, and lower almost all the way down. And then you can flip your toes and inhale into upward facing dog. Or if you brought your knees down, maybe you'll move to cobra into downward dog with the exhale. And you can hang out here, maybe bending one knee and sending the other heel down. And then doing that on the other side. Just holding downward dog here for a few breaths. And we have the feeling that we're trying to externally rotate the upper arm, so it's like you're trying to turn the outside of your arm down, the inside of your arm lifting up and forward. Until you feel like you've got the perfect amount of resistance or the balance of forces to hold there in a peaceful but energetic way. And again, we'll take a big breath in, and you can either exhale and tippy toe or hop if you want. Walk your feet to the top of the mat or hop to the top of the mat, looking up halfway on the inhale. Exhale, folding, and then inhale, coming all the way up. And exhale, let's just ride the breath back down again. Inhale, halfway lift. If you can remember which foot you led with last time, go with the other foot this time. So as you bring your hands down, step back into plank, holding plank. And in plank, I'm looking a little bit forward and down, so I'm not hanging my head or really lifting it. I'm trying to keep the spine, more or less, you're trying to mimic Tadasana, but tipped over. So it's kind of like my spine is the same exact position in Tadasana, but I'm resting on my hands. Inhale to prepare for the lowering. Exhale, either bend your knees towards the floor and lower down, or you can bend your elbows and lower. And then inhaling into your back bend, and exhaling once again into downward facing dog. Just holding dog for a few breaths. And again, maybe you notice I'm bending my knees a little bit here to try to get that lumbar curve moving towards a neutral spine. Then we can inhale the right leg up. Exhale, step the right foot forward into a lunge. Let's come all the way up into a high lunge with the inhale. And then exhale, you can take your arms wide and do that stop sign thing again, twisting to the right. Inhale, I'm rolling my wrists to come back, maybe looking up for some people if that doesn't make you dizzy. Again, with the exhale, twisting, softening the wrists to come back with the inhale. And then exhale one more time, twisting. And then this time maybe placing the left hand down and twisting. You could also, if you don't have a block at home, but you want something like a block, you could use like a big book or something. Just take a couple of breaths. The arm doesn't have to be up in the air. You might notice that when you try to go for the ceiling with your arm, it feels like you're cranking from the shoulder. You could just stick out your arm straight from the socket, or even just rest your hand on your hip. Wherever you are, take another deep breath into the twisty sensation, and then exhale and release, either stepping straight into down dog, or if you feel like you need a break, you can bring your knees down and rest. Or if you want to add a vinyasa here, you can inhale yourself to plank and move through, inhaling into your back bend and exhaling to down dog. Beating up and down dog. Left leg on the inhale. Exhale, step it forward into a lunge. And we'll come up with the inhale. And exhale, twisting to the left. Inhale and out. And in and out. And this time you can place your hand down and hang out in the twist, maybe resting your hand down, or if you want to extend the arm, see if you can go straight out from your shoulder socket, not taking the arm back in space just for the sake of it. See if you can feel like you're taking your arms wide rather than up. And just take a big breath in, and you can exhale, release your hands. And this time let's just spring forward to look up halfway, inhaling, and exhale, fold. We'll come all the way up with the inhale, and again going back down with the exhale. Halfway lift on the inhale. Plant your hands, step back and lower, or if you're hopping into chaturanga as part of your practice, we hop into bent elbows. So this is a bit tricky, so if you're going to do it, you take the weight, I'm bending my elbows, I'm taking the weight forward, where you can just ignore all that and step and move through your vinyasa the regular way we did last time. And once you're in downward facing dog, we'll pause for a few breaths. Then we'll inhale the right leg up. You can exhale, step it forward into a lunge. Drop your back heel down and in. And then we'll inhale and come up into Warrior Two. So noticing in Warrior Two that I'm not leaning forward, I'm not leaning back either, I'm trying to find the middle. And then we'll take the revolved or exalted warrior. Looking past the elbow rather than past the, or into the palm of the hand. So not to collapse the back of the neck here. And then we'll inhale back into Warrior Two. And let's take Partial Konasana. So your elbow can come to your knee, or you can press your elbow into your knee. So I'm actually going to turn around so that we can see. So elbow can be on the knee, or you can bring the elbow to the inner knee and press the elbow and the knee into each other, and then spin your spine to the left. And then the other arm can either rest on your hip, your left arm, or you can use it to extend the angle, the side angle of your whole body out through the fingertips. And again, the gaze is past the elbow. Let's inhale deeply here. Exhale, look down. You can reach your hand back and breathe yourself with the inhale back into Warrior Two. And then we'll lift the back heel. Exhale, you can bring your hands to the floor and you're in a lunge. You can add a vinyasa here or take a break or just hang out in down dog. And then we'll inhale the other leg up, left leg up. Exhale, step it forward. Drop the back heel down in, so your heel to arch alignment. Inhale, coming up, Warrior Two. And I'm trying to keep the knee over the ankle. Basically, the idea is to not let everything kind of drop or droop in. So it actually kind of feels like I'm spinning my right ribs to the right as I press my left knee to the left. And then can come into the revolved or exalted warrior. Breathing steadily. And we'll inhale back to Warrior Two. And exhale into Parshvakonasana. So elbow to the knee or to the inner knee, and your right hand can swoop past. And then you're spinning your ribs to turn your whole spine. Notice you're not drooping your head either. Try and extend not just to the arm, but also to the crown of your head. And let's inhale here. And then this time you can exhale and look down and bring your hands to the floor. Lift your back heel. You're in a lunge. And again, you can either step right into down dog or step to plank and lower. Moving with the breath. Meeting up in downward facing dog. When you're ready, you can inhale the right leg up. Exhale, step it forward into a lunge. Drop your back heel down and in. And then you can straighten your front leg and take the back of your right hand to your inner shin as you start to open into triangle pose. So I'm going to turn my spine, and the idea here is to try and stack the top shoulder over the bottom shoulder. So we're not drooping forward like this. I'm trying to, almost like you're leaning back and turning your whole spine. And again, the arm could be up, arms wide, or you could rest your hand on your hip. I like to take my shin. You can try this as kind of an interesting variation, is to grab your right shin with your hand, and as you kind of lean into the shin, you can actually try and lift, like I'm trying to lift the right foot up into my hand. And when you do that, you can feel your psoas muscle kicking in here too. Arms can be wide. We'll inhale here, and then exhale and look down. You can bring your hands down. And once again, step straight into dog, or you can step to plank and add your vinyasa. Meeting up in downward facing dog. Let's lift the left leg up on the inhale. Exhale, step it forward into a lunge. Drop your back heel down and in. You can straighten your front leg and take the back of your left hand this time to the inner shin and start to press the hand into the shin. And I'm using here my right hand to roll my ribs away, trying to pull the back, the top shoulder to stack over the bottom shoulder. And then if you want to do that thing where you take your hand to your shin, and it's like you're trying to lift your shin into your hand. And I'm also externally rotating this thigh bone. We'll take a big breath in here. And then with the exhale, you can bring the hands down, lift the back heel. You're in a lunge. And again, down dog or add a vinyasa. meeting up. Downward facing dog. When you're ready to come out of down dog, you can walk your hands close together so that your thumbs just touch. And then see if you can either walk your feet forward or hop your feet around your hands, coming into a squat. And we'll hang out for a few breaths in a squat. So if squatting isn't your best thing, you can always lift your heels. And if you were going to stay here for quite a while, you might put something under your heels, but we're just going to hang out for a few breaths. Moving into, or fooling around with Bakasana, we bend around the spine. You're sort of flexing and sliding your elbows down towards your heels, towards your ankles, and rounding your back. So you can try to get your knee to your upper outer armpit area, and then squeeze in. And I'm going to take my hands forward a little bit and start to just rock. And maybe this is just what you're feeling comfortable with, playing around with, taking the weight forward. If you're worried about doing a face plant, you could put something in front to land on. Not that you want to land on it, but you can try not to land on it. If you can manage to get the weight forward enough that you could lift your heels, maybe you lift one toe or both toes, and then you're going to squeeze your feet towards each other and maybe try and straighten the arms. And this is a really good place to check in with your breath and your forehead and your jaw and your lips and your tongue. And then to release, let's just gently lower and come all the way down to seated. Stretching the legs out. And we'll take the hands behind, pedal the feet. And we'll start to cool down a little bit. So the next thing on the way, before we come all the way down, is let's bend the right knee and bring your right elbow to your inner knee. Press your knee into your elbow, and as you twist open, so you're twisting actually to the left, but you're pulling back like we did before, that thing of pressing the heel down and sucking the leg back in, and then releasing, and doing that again a couple more times. And then we'll turn all the way around. So you exhale and twist towards your right knee. You can hold the knee, take the elbow around the knee, or take your elbow across your knee, and just stay here and breathe. And then when you're ready to release, you can simply release. Stretch your right leg out, bend your left knee. We'll start with an open twist, so the elbow on the inner knee, and you're twisting initially away from the bent knee, pulling back with the right hip, and then releasing, and pulling back, and releasing, pulling back, and releasing. And we exhale to make room for the twist. As you turn towards the knee, you can either hold the knee or take the elbow around the knee or across to the outer knee. My left hand is coming in closer to help me sit up nice and tall. And you're just turning, and then again, check in with your jaw, check in with your face. Work on your Mona Lisa smile. That enigmatic, almost smile that tells us that we're relaxed in the face and that you're bringing your calmness with you. And then we'll release back to center and stretch your legs out. Let's do a little bit of pedaling. And coming through Navasana, let's scooch a little bit forward. And to start with, we'll interlace again in front of the shins, now pulling and drawing the low back in. So I'm coming out of a rounded back into a more of an inward curve in the low back. So finding your lumbar curve, and then you see if you can keep that to float your heels. Maybe you can sneak your hands behind your knees, Maybe you fool around with straightening your legs a little bit, one at a time, or both a little bit or a lot. Maybe floating the hands free. Check with your jaw, your breath. And then rounding the back, you can tuck your chin and round your back, either balancing kind of high up on the sacrum area, or you can come a little lower and see if you can balance on your lumbar spine. Kind of hard to talk when you're doing this. And then either release, or if you want to stay for a couple more breaths, you could interlace behind your head. And then lying back and hugging your knees in. And just rocking again. Let's take the feet to the floor. You can do a little bit of windshield wipers like we did before. And then we'll just hang out for a few breaths on one side. And then changing sides. And feel your heart slowing down a little bit. Bring your knees back to center. We'll set up for bridge pose so the feet are hips width. The elbows can come in next to the low ribs, and you can pretend you're holding a beach ball over your belly. Press your elbows down, your feet down, and then you lift your pelvis up. And it's like you're trying to lift your belly up into the imaginary beach ball. You can keep your elbows down, your hands like that, robot arms, or you can interlace your fingers behind your back. And you roll your shoulders up and under, and then I'm pressing down to lift up. And you can activate your hamstrings, the pull back chain, glutes and hamstrings together by pulling your heels back without letting them move. So you're keeping your feet stuck to the mat, but I'm pulling like I'm trying to slide my heels back. If you want to add a little more energy or oomph to this, you can try lifting one leg up at a time. And when you're ready to release, you can uninterlace your hands if they're interlaced, roll your shoulders wide, and roll yourself down through cat. So it's kind of a little abdominal contraction to flex the spine as you gently lower with lots of control. And then again, you can heel to toe a little wider. Windmill it out a little bit. Windshield wiper it out a little bit. And then we'll come into more of an inversion. So if you have a space on the wall, you could just do legs up the wall or anything really, but this adds a little extra kick if you're into that sort of thing. You can take your mat if you have a space, or even a door, but just remember if you do use a door to lock the door first. The way to get into legs up the wall is to scoot your bum against the wall. I notice I'm sitting at one end of my, or one side of my mat. My right hip is on the wall, and then as I lie back, I can swing the legs around, and I end up kind of almost in the middle of my mat. Your legs are up the wall. So then once your legs are up the wall, you can take your heels to the wall and walk them up. And now you can do that same kind of interlace behind your back, so that you end up with straight legs, but your heels are digging into the wall. So I'm in a shoulder stand variation, but this one really gets the hamstrings working, which is kind of cool. And if you want to add a little more hamstring action, try lifting a little bit off the wall with one heel. The heel that's on the wall has to work twice as hard. And after a few breaths, maybe you could do the same to the other side. And you can stay here in this position as long as you want. And your hamstrings have had enough fun. You can release your hands and let your heels slide down
You let your bum lower, lots of control towards the floor until you're down and legs up the wall. And you can just relax, close your eyes, take a few breaths. And then when you're ready to come out of the pose, you can just bend your knees and roll to one side for a few moments. And then think about setting up your Shavasana. So make sure that you're in a comfortable position. You can stay in legs up the wall, maybe that's one option if you want. Or if you want, you can take your pillows or bolsters or whatever you have under your knees. You have a blanket under your head if you like. And just lie back. And make sure that you're warm enough, so if you need to put a blanket on top of you, you could do that. And make sure you give yourself at least 5 minutes.
When you're ready, you can bend your knees and roll to your side for a moment or two. And find your way up to seated. And moving back into the rest of your day when you're ready. Namaste.